Welcome back to a bit of Raw Talk, and today I'm talking about UFC 236 from Atlanta, Georgia. And it's a good card, this one, but I'm only going to talk about the co main event and the main event. Um, and I'm really interested in these two fights because they're both very hard for me to call. Uh, but let's get into it. So, first fight I'm going to talk about is Adesanya versus Gaslam. And this is a tough fight for Adesanya. I think he's the favorite going into it. I think the general sort of perception um, in the MMA community is that he's going to win. However, this is a tough fight for him. Style wise, I think because Gaslam is a good wrestler with very crisp boxing, and he's got a lot of power in his hands, and a lot of speed as well. So that's the sort of if we had to design a fighter that will challenge Adesanya, is a good wrestler with good striking. Um, Strictly a wrestler might struggle with Adesanya given how good his takedown defense is, and a straight up striker might struggle with him considering how the levels of Adesanya. So style wise, this is a good this is a tough fight to call. It sort of reminds me of a DC versus Jones type of fight because there's similarities. If you think about it, Adesanya is very similar to John Jones. He has incredible reach, using his distance very well, and incredible striking as well. And Gaslam is sort of that short, stocky um, wrestler like DC with very good boxing, similar to DC as well. So it's got those type of similarities. I don't know. I just sort of picked up on that. Um, this might be a little biased because I do want Israel to do well. I do want Adesanya to be the champion. Um, and I'm gonna back him to win this one. Um, he'll have to be very patient. He'll have to take his time. He can't sort of try finish Gaslam in the first round. And I'm positive that he can play the long game and he'll be patient. He'll be smart. He'll pick his shots because we've seen him do it before. Um, Whereas Gaslam, I think he'll have to close the gap, get into that clinch, make it really sort of um, dirty boxing, as they call it. Just be in Adesanya's face, close that reach advantage for Adesanya, and try and take him out because I don't know if he has the ability to take him down, um, Gaslam that is. So I think he'll struggle with the takedown. So I think his best option is to sort of get in his face with a boxing pressure and just go for the knockout blow. But I'm gonna pick Adesanya to be too smart for that and too good for that. So I'm gonna say Adesanya wins this fight via decision. Um, and the main event is Holloway versus Poirier because um, obviously Max is the featherweight champion. Traditionally this would be the co-main event because these guys are lighter weight. But I'm happy with this being the main event. Um, I'm a big fan of Max Holloway. I think he's the biggest star on this card as well. So he deserves that main event spot. Um, and I'm having lot of trouble calling this fight because mainly because we haven't seen Max Holloway at lightweight before. You know, is that gonna um, benefit him? Everyone seems to think it's gonna benefit him because he'll be healthier going into it. He won't be as drained from the weight cut. He'll have more power. His chin might be better, but he's also fighting bigger guys. You know, Jose Aldo would not do well at lightweight, in my opinion. He's too small for that. So I don't know. It's a tough fight to call because Dustin Poirier has definitely grown into his frame and he's definitely a lightweight at the moment. He's like he would never be able to cut to 145. Um, so it's a tough fight for me to call because, like I said, we haven't seen Max at lightweight before. Um, on the ground, say if this fight took place on the ground, someone takes someone down, I would back Poirier on the ground. I think he's a bit more experienced and mature in that. Um, However, Max is almost impossible to take down. He's similar to Adesanya. Um, However, I don't think we need to be worried about this fight going on the ground. I think both of these guys will want to keep it standing and put on a show for the fans. Um, I feel like if there is a takedown, if the fight does go to the ground, it would be because one guy is struggling so hard on the feet that he goes for a last ditch attempt to take the other guy to the ground and just get something out of it. But for the majority of the fight, I expect it to be standing. And stand wise, I got to back Max with this one. I think he has, um, he keeps his distance better. I think he's better at figuring out the opponent's rhythms, and he's one of those fighters similar to Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz. He gets better as the fight goes on. As the opponent sort of deflates and gets tired, Max Holloway gets better and better. He grows into the fight. And that's why you see him as the fight goes on, Max actually, his striking accuracy increases, and he also manages to defend better as well. That could be a case because the opponent's getting a bit more tired, but you know, early on in the fights, Max Holloway gets hit. He hits a few shots, but as the fight goes on, he's so much harder to hit. Um, so, like I say, Max Holloway's a slow starter, but um, on the other hand, Poirier is a fast starter. He comes out guns blazing, throwing a lot of hard shots. Trying to put you away early on. Um, and as the fight goes on, he throws less punches. However, his accuracy is still up there. His accuracy is he's a very accurate striker. Period. But even though he might throw, let's say, 20 strikes in the third round, he'll probably get 15 or 16 out of them. So it's a very fascinating fight, this one, and I've had to think about it a lot to figure out who I'm going to back going into this one. I feel like if Poirier wins this fight, it will be early on, first, second round knockout TKO. However, if Max wins this fight, I think it will be in the later rounds, maybe fourth, fifth round, or even just take a decision. But without the weight cut, I just think Max will be a bit more powerful as well. So I think that will make him even more dangerous in the first and second round. And I trust him to just steady himself, keep the distance like he usually does, and eventually get the win, either by a late knockout or just take the decision. Because I think, Poirier might win round 1 or 2, but I think from round 2 onwards, it's going to be all Max Holloway. So that's what I think about these two fights. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be one of the best, matchups. Specifically, the main event is going to be one of the best matchups of the year so far. And good luck to the winner against Khabib. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. See you next time.